Namo Buddhaya and a very warm welcome, dear Dhamma friends, to our Full Moon Poya Days Dhamma sharing session under our Dhamma Dana lecture series. Okay, allow me to introduce myself. I'm Brother Eric, and I will be your host for this afternoon Dhamma sharing. We are privileged to have with us Bhante Viharagala Pagngnaloka Thero from Sri Lanka as our speaker for today. Let us now bring Bhante Pagngnaloka online. Bhante, Namo Buddhaya and Sukhi Hotu, Bhante.
Namo Buddhaya, Sukhi Hotu, Mr. Eric.
Welcome, Bhante, to our Facebook page.
Thank you very much.
Okay, let me do a short introduction on Bhante Pagngnaloka. Okay, Bhante Pagngnaloka was born in 1989 in southern Sri Lanka and was ordained in 2001 and was fully ordained in 2013. He received his Bachelor of Honors first class degree in Buddhist study from the Sri Lanka International Buddhist Academy and diploma in Buddhist counseling psychology. Currently, he is reading for his Master of Philosophy degree in Buddhist study from the University of Viharagala. He works as a probationary lecturer in Buddhist studies at the Sri Lanka International Buddhist Academy, Palekele, in Sri Lanka. Okay, today's topic is entitled Significance of Observing the 8 Precepts. With that, we welcome Bhante to deliver today's Dhamma sermon.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, and the Supremely Enlightened One. Good afternoon, all my Dhamma friends. Today, I'm meeting you once again from Sri Lanka to share another Dhamma talk with you. Especially on this Esala full moon for a day, that we are going to discuss the significance or the importance of observing 8 precepts or the Uposatha Sila. Before starting my talk, let me tell you something about this Esala full moon Poya day. Esala full moon Poya day is very important for all the Buddhists around the world. Esala full moon Poya day is very busy in Buddhist calendar because we mark, many significant events that had happened in the Buddhist calendar in the history of Buddhist dispensation. Among them, the conception of Prince Siddhartha in Queen Mahamaya's womb has occurred on an Esala full moon Poya day like today. At the same time, on an Esala Poya day, the Prince Rahula, the only child of Prince Siddhartha and Princess Yasodhara, was born. At the same time, at the age of 29, the Prince Siddhartha decided to leave the palace, the comforts that he had been experiencing. So he decided to leave the comforts to find the way out of universal truth. The Great Renunciation, actually. The leave in the palace, we call it the Great Renunciation, also took place on an Esala full moon Poya day like today, 2600 years ago. At the same time, it was on an Esala full moon Poya day, the Buddha arrived after attaining the Siddhartha, Prince Siddhartha, after attaining the Buddhahood. He arrived at the deer park of Isipatana to preach his first Dhamma sermon to the 5 ascetics. So on this Esala full moon Poya day, on an Esala full moon Poya day like today, the Buddha delivered his very first discourse, which is entitled as Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta at Isipatana Migadaya, at the end of which it is recorded in the history that Venerable Kondanya, who was the most senior one, attained the first stage of sainthood. And this also happened on an Esala full moon Poya day. Not only that, the observance of Vas by Maha Sangha during the rainy season, which was introduced by the Buddha, it starts on Esala Poya day. But this time in Sri Lanka, of course, because of 2020 being a leap year, we start our rainy retreat in August, in next month. But usually, the observance of Vas falls on Esala Poya day. And at the same time, there are a number of important events with regard to the life of the Buddha, especially after attaining the enlightenment. On an Esala full moon Poya day like this, Buddha visited the Tusita heaven to preach Abhidhamma. At the same time, when it comes to history of Buddha Sasana, the first Dharma Sanghayana, first Buddhist council, is said to be held on an Esala Poya day under the patronage of King Ajasattu after 3 months of the demise of the Buddha. And at the same time, it is recorded in the history that the first local prince from Sri Lanka was ordained under the guidance of Venerable Mahamahinda in Sri Lanka on an Esala full moon Poya day like this. At the same time, it is said that the groundbreaking ceremony was held in Sri Lanka to build Ruwanwali Saya, the great stupa pagoda, which was built by King Dutugamunu. And this auspicious, groundbreaking also has occurred on an Esala full moon Poya day like today. So these occurrences, these happenings make this day very special for all the Buddhists around the world. So therefore, my dear Dhamma friends, Esala full moon Poya day is very important for all of us to strengthen our practice, to practice more and more, to listen to Dhamma, to share the holy conduct with everyone around us. So today we are going to discuss about the importance, significance of observing 8 precepts. Now, before I start my Dhamma topic, now this is my usual way. I would like to give you a kind of instruction which can help you more to listen to Dhamma accurately. Now, we know that, on an Esala full moon Poya day, Buddha started, preaching, teaching, and disseminating his Dhamma to the world out of compassion. And when we closely look at or scrutinize the teachings of the Buddha, the ultimate goal is to have the wisdom that leads to the enlightenment. And Buddha has taught this Dhamma out of compassion, so the followers can have their own wisdom, because though Buddha has taught this Dhamma, the salvation is upon us. Salvation is upon the individuals. So as the wisdom also should be understood by individuals themselves. Therefore, my dear Dhamma friends, in the traditional teaching, there are three ways of gaining wisdom, gaining knowledge, gaining understanding. So let me first discuss that three ways of gaining wisdom with you before I go into my today's talk. Now, according to the teachings of the Buddha, there are three steps. They are known as, now let me first tell you them in Pali. First one is Sutamaya Panya. So you can easily keep them in your mind. Sutamaya Panya. Second is Chintame Panya. Third is Bhavaname Panya. Now, Sutame Panya simply translated into English as wisdom gained by listening to Dhamma. Now, this is what you are going to do now. This is what you have been doing throughout the day on this important day. Now, we listen to Dhamma. We read Dhamma books. We watch Dhamma programs. We do so many things in order to increase our level of knowledge, because knowledge is important. Knowledge is power, right? So, my dear Dhamma friends, Sutame Jnana, or the knowledge or wisdom, can be gained by reading books, by listening to the good Dhamma, by watching Dhamma programs. So, gaining Dhamma is important, and there are three ways of gaining that wisdom, understanding. So the first one is Sutame Panya, wisdom gained by listening to Dhamma, or maybe listening to wise people that we have been associating with. By associating with them, we can gain knowledge, gain wisdom. So this one is followed by another step, which is Chintamaya Panya. Wisdom gained by our own thinking. So this is again important. Not only we gain wisdom by listening to others, reading books, watching Dhamma programs, we have to increase our knowledge, our understanding, our wisdom by thinking ourselves, thinking the knowledge that we have gained by listening to Dhamma, by listening to virtuous, learned people, maybe the Dhamma talks that we have listened to can be helpful for us to have the wisdom which should be generated, which should be gained by thinking. So remember, Sutamaya Panya, or wisdom which is gained by listening to Dhamma, should be followed by Chintame Panya. Chintame Panya simply means wisdom gained by thinking. So if we have knowledge, we can think. Using that knowledge, we can think. And again, this Chintame Panya should be followed by Bhavaname Panya. Chintame Panya is preceded by Sutame Panya and followed by Bhavaname Panya. So this is really important. We gain knowledge by listening, and we gain knowledge by thinking, and the last one, we gain knowledge, we gain wisdom by practicing, developing, cultivating. Now, Bhavaname Panya means Wisdom we gain through cultivation. Wisdom we gain through practicing the Dhamma that we have learned, upon which we have developed our thinking. So remember, Sutame Panya is important, and Chintame Panya is even important, more important. And Bhavaname Panya is the most important one. So we have to understand this, that wisdom gained by listening, wisdom gained by thinking, and wisdom gained by cultivating. So these three steps can help us to have the inner peace that we all have been looking for. Therefore, my dear Dhamma friends, so keep this in your mind, because mere listening to the Dhamma may not be helpful for us to have the inner peace. So with that, let me go into my topic today. The topic, as I have already mentioned, the importance, the significance of observing 8 precepts. Now, before we go into 8 precepts, we all know the importance of Sila, right? Sila means morality, ethical conduct. Now, Sila is very important for our life. Why? You can easily understand that. We are very busy people. You all are busy people. You all are doing so many things. We have been busy. Every day we have to attend to so many things. Maybe you have to attend to your children. Maybe you have to attend to your responsibilities at your working place. So there are so many things. You have to attend to your parents. A student who are studying should attend classes, school, so many things. So let me quote one of the suttas of the Buddha. Now, this busy life is compared to an ant hill by the Buddha. Buddha says our life is normally the nature of our life. This busy life is, Buddha, compares this with an ant hill. What is the nature of an ant hill? Buddha says an ant hill usually fumes by night and flames by day. At night we have smoke coming out from this ant hill. And what happens during daytime? Daytime we can see the flames. So Buddha says our life is also like an ant hill, fumes by night and flames by night, which is very true, my dear Dhamma friends. That is the nature of our life. That is how busy we are. So we have to understand this. So when we look at our busy life, Sila is very important, because Sila is a kind of thing that stops this busy life, maybe for a day, especially this Uposatha Sila. Otherwise, Sila is important. Sila should be kept. Sila should be protected, observed every day, daily. But if we look at this Uposatha Sila stops us, disassociate us from this busy life schedule. And Sila in generally is defined in the teachings of the Buddha, especially in commentaries, the bodily and verbal restraint, control. Verbal and bodily restraint is Sila, is the morality, ethical conduct. So my dear Dhamma friends, when it comes to Sila, we have our daily Sila, daily precepts. That is the 5 precepts, where we abstain from killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, telling lies, and using intoxicative drugs and drinks. So this is our daily precept. 5 precepts which should be protected and kept every day in our life. Because don't think that sometimes people think sila means kind of commandment given by the Buddha. No, sila is not a commandment. It is a kind of agreement that we make with ourselves, not with the Buddha. Now, if you look at the precepts, especially if you closely see the Pali stanzas, for example, if you take the first precept, Panatipata Veramani Sikha Padang Samadhyami. Now, if you know Pali, my dear Dhamma friends, you understand this sentence, this Pali sentence ends with sound me. Now, in Pali, usually a sentence ends in me means ahang is in the beginning. Who is ahang? Ahang is I. So I undertake the precept of abstaining from killing. It is something that is done by yourself, done by myself, and I have an agreement with me, myself. And if I have the agreement, I should be able to keep it, protect it. It's a promise, not a commandment. It's a kind of commitment. Rather than a commandment, it is a commitment. So, sila is bodily and verbal restraint that we have to have in our life. Now, when it comes to this 8 precepts, because we are talking about the 8 precepts is a kind of advanced version of precepts. Now, if you look at now this third precepts, which is abstaining from sexual misconduct, changes into abstaining from all forms of misconduct, sexual conduct, not misconduct, abstaining from all forms of sexual conduct. And when it comes to especially fourth and fifth, they are the same, because fifth one talks about abstaining from intoxicating drinks and drugs, and when it comes to sixth, it talks about abstaining from eating afternoon. Eating afternoon, we abstain from eating afternoon. We have our lunch around 12, 11:30, and then we abstain from taking actually food. And seventh one, abstaining from entertainment and beautification of this body. Sometimes when we stay at home, we have so much of entertainment and beautification of our body. So seventh one discusses abstaining from entertainment and beautification, or beautifying this body. And eighth one, abstaining from using luxurious furniture, maybe chairs, maybe sofa, abstaining from luxurious furniture at our home. And especially one thing more I should highlight, emphasize here, when we observe when we observe precepts, we don't have a dress code, a special dress code. But when it comes to 8 precepts, we actually wear we use a different dress code. Why? This dress code reminds us of this special uposatha sila. And the other thing, not only dress code. Now, if you look at now, 8 precepts is known as uposatha sila also. What is the meaning of this uposatha? Now, uposatha is living near the triple gem. Upavasata. We can disjoint, separate this uposatha word as upavasata. Upa means near, closely. Vasata means live. So when we observe 8 precepts, we disassociate our life from the daily things, actually it is a kind of renunciation. We renounce so many material things, because in prior precepts there is no something like that. But in if you look at, especially if you look at the last 3 precepts, starting from abstaining from taking meals afternoon. Now these 3 precepts, encourage renunciation, especially giving up, because Buddha has, encouraged all of us, especially Buddhist monks, and of course lay people also, to practice renunciation, because renunciation is wholesome, and following these extra precepts can give us kind of opportunity to practice some of the renunciation, especially that monks and nuns follow every day. If you take a novice monk, samanera monk, they have 10 precepts. Now when you observe 8 precepts on Uposatha day, full moon Poya day, especially these 8 precepts are undertaken and kept, protected, observed actually on full moon Poya day, especially on full moon Poya days. And the precepts, actually as I mentioned earlier, the 3rd precept, which is refraining from sexual misconduct, changes into refraining from any kind of sexual activity in our life, which is kind of giving up. So as I told you, the last 3 precepts involve getting up, giving up all forms of enjoyment. We limit our food by not eating in the afternoon, especially solid food. Sometimes we have drinks, and also because we need to maintain our body, and we give up entertainment and beautification of our body, beautifying our body. And also we use simple furniture, especially we use very small chairs, and sometimes we only sit on the floor using mats and all. So giving up these things, even for temporarily, can help us recognize ourselves, and by recognizing ourselves we can reduce our attachments. So by spending time, especially without these comforts in our life, which we have been having all the day, because we observe, sometimes we most of the time we observe 8 precepts only once a month, because we have only one full moon Poya day per month. So spending time without these comforts, we have more opportunity to focus our practice more into meditation and experience in when we live at our house, at our home, we experience happiness of these material things. But when we renounce them, and when we try to focus our attention on practice, especially meditation practice, we are able to experience the happiness of inner peace, because this happiness is not based on material things. Material things, they also can give us kind of happiness, but it is not lasting. It can vanish at any time. Now when we give them up and focus on observing 8 precepts, and that time that we spend maybe in the temple, maybe at your place, gives us more opportunity to practice more sila, and develop our concentration. And we know that who follow the teachings, are all people who are following the teachings of the Buddha are always targeting, are working towards the enlightenment. So to attain the enlightenment, this giving up is very important, because those who have attained different levels of, for example, if we take an arahant has given up everything material. So when we spend more time following these more rules, we remember that we are kind of following those great saints, arahants, especially maybe the closer one, Buddhist monks, Buddhist nuns, who are following more precepts, who are who have observed more precepts than the lay people. Like we are imitating, we are kind of following those great spiritual beings. When we understand the benefit of this kind of practice, we can make our life, we can make ourselves happy simply by remembering the time that we have spent, that we have practiced these teachings of the Buddha with more dedication. So lay people also can follow these 8 precepts as often as they like, because traditionally we know Buddhist people come to temple, especially in Sri Lanka, observe 8 precepts, especially on Poya days. But if we can understand the benefits, the inner peace, the happiness that we can have by observing 8 precepts, we can spend more time uh, practicing, especially observing 8 precepts. And this sila, especially 8 precepts, is again important because we know sila is the cornerstone of our practice. Be it 5 precepts or 8 precepts, 10 precepts, whatever it is, sila is the cornerstone, because that is the beginning. And if we look at again, if we go into the teachings of the Buddha, now we know that Esala full moon Poya day is the Poya day on which the Buddha Buddha preached his first Dhamma sermon, which is Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. And in that sutta, Buddha discusses the Four Noble Truths, where he discussed this fourth truth, which should be learned by all the followers of the Buddha, and by learning these four truths, one is able to practice, get into the practice taught by the Buddha. So there also Buddha talks about the importance of sila, because if we look at the 8 Noble Fold Path discussed or preached in the very first Dhamma sermon of the Buddha, there also sila is included. Because if we look at Samma Vacha, right words, Samma Kammanta, right action, and Samma Ajiva, right livelihood. Now these 3 are included in sila section as sila. Now maintaining right words, there are 4 kinds of right words that we have to practice in our life, and right actions, there are 3 kinds of bodily actions which should be abstain, which we have to abstain from. And at the same time, there are 5 kinds of traits that we should not involve in our day-to-day life. So Samma Vacha, Samma Kammanta, Samma Ajiva. So these 3 are taught in Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, in the very first teachings of the Buddha, as our ethical conduct. Now this should be developed. How can we develop this? Now that is where sila is important. Now not only we observe precepts, not only we keep that in our daily life. Now time to time we have to observe 8 precepts also, because that is an advanced sila. Of course it is a kind of advanced version of precepts, but it is an advanced sila which is very difficult to keep in our day-to-day life. So we know that. So let me quote another important sutta here. Now once a deity came to Buddha and to the best of my knowledge, my memory, it's a deity, and a deity came to Buddha and presented a problem that everyone is experiencing. So this deity, the person who came to Buddha, said people are entangled within and outside. Anto jata bahi jata. People are having confusions within and outside. So as the Buddha, what is your solution for this? So you all know this, you all can remember this. So the advice, instruction given by the Buddha said, Sile patittaya naro sapanyo. The person, the wise person, the person wisely established himself on Sila, develops concentration and wisdom. Now see here also, Sila is important because that is the as I told you earlier, that is the cornerstone of our practice. Without sila, without having verbal and bodily control, it is very difficult for us to have the mental development. It is like while running, we can't see ourselves because we are running. We have to stop ourselves. That is where sila is important. So by observing precepts, we control ourselves, we stop ourselves, and we let our mind have wholesome thoughts in our mind. That is concentration. So Buddha says, Sile patittha naro sapanyo. The person who is wisely established himself on the moral conduct develops his concentration and wisdom. And just like a monk, ardent and adept, he is the one who is able to disentangle, clear out all the tangles that we have, all the problems that we have. So this is again really important because sila is the very first step. If you look at the Eight Noble Fold Path also, the first step is sila. And therefore, my dear Dhamma friends, sila is very important in our life. So observing 8 precepts in our daily life, especially in 4 days, at least once a month, can give us many benefits, because the person who observes sila, who protects the sila that the person has observed, can have benefits in this very life. For example, if we look at our life now, if we keep the first precept, not harming, we abstain from killing. Now we all know we love ourselves. We never want anyone to disturb us, harm us, kill us. We don't want others to at least to pinch us. We don't want, because we love ourselves. We care ourselves. So by observing the first precept, what we usually do, we do not do it. We know the value of life. We know that nobody is like to be disturbed or harmed. So we know the value of that precept and we keep it. At the same time, what happens if everyone understands this and everyone tries their best to keep the, let's say 5 precepts. Let's say the first precept. Now there, we can have a very peaceful life. And not only 5 precepts, on 4 days, everyone, go to temples, have that white dress code, which separate you from the other people who have observed 5 precepts. And you go to temple, maybe you stay your place and observe 8 precepts and try to keep them from maybe from morning to the evening, maybe from morning to the other morning of the other day. So we can do that. By doing that, we are able to gain more happiness, more merits, which is important in this very life. Therefore, my dear Dhamma friends, observing 8 precepts is really important for everyone, and you can be happy by remembering the time that you have spent to observe 8 precepts and to keep the precepts that you have observed. Therefore, my dear Dhamma friends, always understand our path is supported by our sila, our practice of sila, our ethical conduct. And this ethical conduct supports us to have mental development. And this mental development, is always helpful for us to have mental development, which is panya. So therefore, we always should try our best to protect prior precepts, not only prior precepts, especially on 4 days like this. We know the importance of 4 days, and we should be able to observe 8 precepts and keep them to our best. So I think with this I can wind up my teaching today, and I hope that this knowledge that I shared with you is important for you to have more understanding about Dhamma and the practice that you have been developing in your life. And I stop here, and thank you very much for listening. And if you have any question, you may ask now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bhante, for the excellent sharing. Here it seems we have questions posted online for us. I will post it up on screen for Bhante and everyone to view it. Okay.
Yes, the question asked by this devotee is about the sixth precept, abstaining from food afternoon time, especially about not taking solid food. Of course, in the afternoon we can abstain from abstain from taking solid food, but of course we can have drinks, beverages, and fruit juice and like that. So we can have them. It's okay, because we have to maintain. It's not torturing this body. It's not giving pains to this body, because Buddha has, in his very first Dhamma sermon, has rejected this giving torture, giving pains to this body, atta kilamatana yoga. So we can have light kind of drink, maybe fruit juice, maybe different kinds of beverages or milk, tea or something, because this food should not be a burden to our practice. What happens if you take more solid food in the afternoon? You fall asleep, and it becomes a burden, hindrance to your practice. So you can take some kind of light drink, like fruit juice and beverages, so that you can mindfully practice the protect the precepts that you have observed, and you can practice it with a clear mind. And it's not about tolerating hunger or giving pains to your body. No, it's not something like that. Make sure the food you take in the afternoon you know does not hinder your practice, does not hinder your observance of the precepts. Thank you. Yes, there is another question. Good afternoon, Bhante. Can we take additional precepts by count of 1 from 5th precepts upwards? For example, taking 6th. or seventh precepts without taking the usual 8 precepts during normal days but not on POI days. Can Bhante clarify on this? Now, usually, yes, usually our practice has been observing prior precepts. That can be observed daily. Now, when it comes to 8 precepts, it is difficult for us to, if you are having lay life, and it is very difficult for you to observe all the 8 precepts at home, and it is very difficult because you know you are leading a lay life. You have bonds, you have family life, you have your kids and all, and it's very difficult because the best thing that whenever you are comfortable with, you can observe 8 precepts, especially on POI days, and especially on POI days, and on other days, the best thing you can observe prior precepts, and try your best to protect them in your daily life, and that is very good for everyone, I think. Yeah, there's another question. Can our precepts help us at the moment of death, especially when we see bad images such as animals or hell beings? Yes, thank you very much for asking this question. Of course, if you practice sila in your life, believe me, you won't see hell beings or animals at your moment of death, because you have if you have practiced sila, that means you not only practice sila. Practicing sila is followed by developing our mind, right? So practicing sila helps us develop our concentration, and that concentration helps us have wisdom in our life. So if we keep our precepts, don't worry, you are leading a good life, and that practice helps us have a peaceful death also, and have uh, you know blissful state in our next life also. So don't worry about that. So always focus on your practice of precepts, and always try to develop concentration, and they can be helpful, and try to live at the present moment, and that can be helpful for you to have peace in mind and happiness in your life. Is it true, there's another question, is it true people who do not uphold their precepts will face difficulties and hindrances in meditation and may go mad? Now, again, this is a very good question. Now, if you have observed precepts, you have to protect them, right? You have to protect them, and by protecting them, it is very easy for the practitioner to develop their mental development, develop their mentality, develop their mental composure. And you observe precepts and you do not protect them, you always violate or break them, and that can be a hinder, because you observed precepts, not others break it, only you can break it. You break them and try to develop your mental uh, you know composure and one pointedness in your mind. No, that can be hindered by the breaking of by not keeping the precepts. So therefore it is very important for you to, if you have observed it, and you have to keep it, protect it. And if you intentionally or unintentionally you broke the precept, so you better take it again. You again commit, and you again determine, okay, this precept I unintentionally broke it, so let me take that precept again, and make your mind fit again. If it is not fit your mind again and try to focus on your concentration. So that is the best way that you can do. Of course, yes. Do heavenly beings observe precepts in the Deva realm as they are continuously enjoying themselves in the heaven? Yeah. And now, for this question, my answer, of course, there are different deities or heavenly beings who observe precepts. And of course, yes, there are beings, there are heavenly beings who, practice Sila, and that for them it is very easy to understand Dhamma because of their practice. Thank you very much.
So before we conclude, we would like to invite Bhante Pagngnaloka Thera to share the merits accrued with all the devas and our departed loved one. Bhante.
Okay, let us share the merits that we have accumulated by listening to this Dhamma talk, and by observing 8 precepts today, and by discussing Dhamma, and by all the means we have accumulated a lot of merits. So let us transfer them to the divine beings who protect this world, who protect this dispensation of the Buddha Sasana, and at the same time let us transfer these merits to the departed relatives, and may all the beings in the world be happy, and may they be transferred with by the merits that we have accumulated today. Akasatta ca bummatta devanaga mahiddika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkantu loka sasanang. Akasatta ca bummatta devanaga mahiddika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkantu dhamma desanang. Akasatta ca bummatta devanaga mahiddika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkantu tvang sadati. Idamme ñātīnaṁ hotu sukita hontu ñātayo. Idamme ñātīnaṁ hotu sukita hontu ñātayo. Idamme ñātīnaṁ hotu sukita hontu ñātayo. May all the beings in the world be happy and peaceful. Thank you very much.
Now we have come to the end of our Dhamma sharing. On behalf of Buddhist Maha Vihara, we would like to take this opportunity to extend our highest thanks to Bhante Pagngnaloka Thero again, and also to our generous sponsors today, and to all our audiences present here. May all beings be well, peaceful, and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.